Right. We are the dealer, East 1-1. And okay, I need to start putting those drawers in there as well now. Because they need to be stands for the camera. Okay. Would anyone like to make a suggestion what to discard? There are several options. We have 3, 4, 4, 9, 9 in characters. We have one. This is Bamboo 1. Don't confuse it with something else. We have 1, 1, 3, 9 in Bamboo, and we have 2, 2, 6, 8, and the Red Dragon. How many discard and is double significant? Just discard one tile. Yeah, you always discard one tile and then pick another tile. Or the next person gets to pick another tile. The 9 of Bamboo or the Red Dragon. Very good, Dave. Very, very good. Right? So, while we do have 4 pairs, that doesn't have to be something bad. Especially this early in the hand. That really means we might not want to get rid of them. Also, many of the pairs that we have are actually connected to something. So we have 3, 4, 4. We have 1, 1, 3, so this can combine here. Those two are pretty separate, but the 1 definitely fits with this pair. The 6 and 8 are connected. The 2 is a pair, the 9 is a pair. This one stands out, and this one stands out. So, depending on what you're going for, and kind of on a special rule in the rule set, you would choose either the 9 or the Red Dragon. I guess we'll go for the Red Dragon. Just for the heck of it, because I like to discard them like this, which is upside down. Usually you discard all your tiles pointing your way, but if you discard it upside down, it looks like a gun that you're shooting at drones. And then I make funny noises. Pew, pew, pew. Alright, let's take a look at what the South player has to offer. Now, actually, there's no harm in me just opening them up flat, right? Is there? Okay, we have a pair of South, a pair of Red Dragons. We have a 1, 2, 2, 7, 9, a 4 and a 5, and a 4 in Bamboo. Have we picked yet? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. We have not picked yet. So now that my Red Dragon shoots you, it has 6,000 attack. Could you kindly not attack my face and hit my minion? I forgot to put in defense. Gango Pew, exactly. A player invited to the World Championships, everyone. I'm not the only one who does that. I probably won't do it in like the World Championship, but I definitely do that in tournaments. South has 2 middles. That's a very nice way of saying that. South does indeed have 2 Red Dragons. He also has 2 South Winds. So South looks pretty decent. He has a potential pair here with the 2s. 2 more pairs here. This can connect. These are connected. The 4 and the West Wind stand out. And that's relevant because he's South. That is correct. Because he's South, whereas normally it's nothing, right? It would just be a simple pair. Now, usually it would be his turn to pick from that wall over there. Well, right? However, he has a pair of Red Dragons, and someone just discarded a Red Dragon, and he has a pretty strong hand going for him, so he's gonna call it. So he's gonna shout pawn, take it, and put that in the bottom right corner of the table. To signify, first and foremost, there. This is, the left one is twisted, meaning it came from the left, from this player that sits here, and the other two don't really matter. So he now called this tile, and now needs to discard a tile. Let's see what he can discard. The west or the 4. I'd go for the west. That has more potential of development, and he discards it over here. Ooh, baby, a triple! So you put it in the center if it's correct. Very good. Yes, that is a thing. In triplets, you can call from either side and from the opposite player. In sequences, you only call from the left. Alright. Actually, I've decided to just leave those open and just put them back up for the time when the player is not there. And then I don't have to run around the table and reposition the camera a lot anymore. So, let's see what the player who is actually in the West thinks of that. Tiles are awful! But hey, it was my first Mahjong set that I got, so that's nice. Alrighty, are those all kind of visible on screen? Alright, we have 2 green dragons. We have a white dragon. We have a 2 and a 3, a 6 and an 8 and a 9. We have a 3 and a 5, a south wind, a 3 and a 6. There, like this. Now, he can't do anything with the west wind that was discarded, so he gets to pick. For himself. Alright, let's just count. He hasn't picked. Yes, correct. And he picks the 7. Now, keep in mind that gives him the possibility for 7, 8, 9 or 6, 7, 8. For now, it's like this nice sequence of 4. What would that? So he discarded west. Yes, indeed. He did discard the west. Now, what would this player discard? No, the blank is the white wind, the white dragon. Not the white wind. Sorry, I'm making more coffee. It's the white dragon, indeed. Alright, any suggestions? So south, very good. Either south or the red dragon are both fine. That's a cool design. The fact that the white one is blank? Or you mean those pieces in general? Okay, so let's discard the south. Yeah. Right, the player discards the south wind. And what's going to happen next? Can someone tell me what's going to happen next? Would someone like to make a guess? So this was the west player. So up next would be the north player. You have to call before the next card draw. Very good. I'm assuming what you mean is that the south player, who still has his pair of south winds, sees, more points for me. And he's gonna call that south wind and gonna, how south looks like this. And just be his turn again. And he needs to call that quickly, because the moment the north player touches his that tile, or no, builds it into his hand, he cannot call anymore. Right? So he calls and builds the south into his hand, which now looks like this, to signify that the south came from that player and the red dragon came from the other player. Alright? Oh, how's south looking? His overall hand. I see. Alright, so let's take a look at south. 1, 2, 2, 7, 9, 4, 5, and 4. So, what would south discard? Correct. He has 2 Yaku, or to be precise, 2 Han. So players can call in at any time if something in the discard is juicy. Correct. For bamboo. Absolutely decent choice. I agree. While it is... Well, there's an argument to be had whether you want to discard the 1. Because this is kind of fixed for the pair of those 2. And therefore you don't need the 1. And the 4 offers a bit of flexibility because it's more central than this 1. However, this 7 and 9 doesn't necessarily have to become 7, 8, 9, right? We might pick another 7 or another 9 for a pair, and then this can still become a sequence. Whereas this is a lonely pair, a lonely piece. So we'll discard the 4 and put it into our discard. Right. Up next is West again, because it always, like, calling interrupts the order of play. One and 9 don't have 2 numbers beside them. That is correct. Right. Yeah. More central. Central as in the sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The more central it is, 4, 5, and 6 in particular, the more they can combine with outwards. Right? The 2 can only combine with as 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4. The 1 can only combine as 1, 2, 3. Whereas the 4 can combine as 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6. Alright, let's take a look what West has to offer for us. West cannot call this 4, so he's going to pick another piece. And to pick the North Wind. He doesn't really care about the North Wind, so he's going to discard it. And finally, it's North's turn. At this point in the game, North will be complaining that they're all playing the game without him. Let's take a look at North's hand. Hey. Well, North's hand isn't the best. Let's sort this real quick. 7. Jeez, that is. Oh wow. Actually, isn't that? No. So there's certain exceptions when someone can demand a reshuffle, and one of those is like 13 unconnected tiles, but 7 and 9 are connected, and 6 and 7, 7, 9 are connected, 6 and 4 is connected. But like if you have like a dragon each and a wind each, then you can like demand a reshuffle. Depending on the rule set. Also, if you have 9 terminals and honors, you can demand a reshuffle. Okay, what does sequencing have in relation to the game? You need to... Your final hand will consist of a meld of 3 pieces and a pair of 2 pieces. Exactly 4 melds of 3 pieces and 1 pair of 2 pieces. Unless it's like 2 special hands. And a meld of 3 pieces can either be a triplet or a sequence of consecutive numbers. Whereas it doesn't wrap around like 8, 9, 1, that doesn't exist, but you can have 7, 8, 9. Right. Also, yeah. Oh, okay. What Dave said, yeah. If you have a 1 in bamboo, then the only way to extend that is with a 2 and a 3 in bamboo, right? But if you have a 4 in bamboo, that can be extended with a 5, a 6, a 2, and a 3. Exactly. Very good. Alright, so, this is pretty horrible. And... we have picked, right? We've picked. No, have we? We have not picked yet. Okay, we can't take the North Wind that has been discarded, so we'll pick. We picked an... Oh my god! Now at this point, North wishes that you're playing without him, because that is just horrible. Like, the only things that are connected are, like, this chunk and these two, and everything else is absolutely horrible. He has little chance of... What did he pull? Sorry, he pulled an 8. And 2, 5, 8 are 3 apart each, which means they cannot connect, right? The 2 cannot connect to the 5 cannot connect to the 8. And he has the same problem with the 4 and the 7, the 1 and the 4, and all those singular wins also don't help him. I can't hear the music. Why though? No one else did. Is that because he is last? Why did he pick? Sorry. Because West discarded, right? It always goes around like this, right? East, South, West, North, East, South, West, North. Unless it's interrupted by a call, right? And he discarded, no one called it, so it's his turn. In fact, you could kind of argue that North is last. Right. So, without making things too complicated, he would probably discard West. Because there's still a chance of getting a triplet of Easts, or when East discarded, South pulled. When East discarded, well, actually South called instead of picking a piece. Right? When East discarded, it's a bit unfortunate that happened so quickly. But like, he decided instead of picking a piece from the wall to call the tile that was discarded. Yeah, that's a juicy red dragon, exactly. Right, so he can still do something if he gets a triplet of North wins, he can still do something if he gets a triplet of East wins. West doesn't help him so much, and West is also out once already, so I guess he'll discard West. There's several reasons why he could play something completely different. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nah. Alright, but that's his discard. Let's go back to the East player. The East player cannot do anything with this discard, so he gets to pick the piece over there. And it's a 7. 3, 4, 4, 7, 9, 9. Now we're getting to a place where we actually need to decide if we are going to fold the 5 pairs or not. But not yet. We can still discard this 9 that we have discussed earlier, right? We discussed Red Dragon or Bamboo 9, and now we can discard the Bamboo 9 without any big trouble. Everything else is still kind of connected. So we discard the Bamboo 9. Right, so the discard pile currently looks like this. You either pull... Hang on. Also, my discard option was better. What was your discard option? So either you can you call or pull, not both, but you cannot do neither. Correct. Well, you can wait for someone else to call. But yes, if it's your turn, well, whenever something is discarded, people, everyone can decide whether they want to call that or not. And there's essentially 5 things they can call. They can call it as a sequence, coming from the right, but only from the left, to the right. They can call it as a triplet. Anyone can do that. They can call it as a quadruplet, but we're not going to go into that. And they can call it as a win, right? If they say, okay, I'm going to win on this piece, it's over. That can also happen from everywhere. The only thing that can only happen from the left is a sequence. Can wait for the social anxiety one. Right. If you're not looking at a new piece at all, it's because you've won the hand. Yeah, that's also. What did you mean by your discard option was better? What? I know what he discards here. Oh, what was your discard option? What would you have discarded? Dave, that was concerning with the North player. What was your suggestion here? I wrote it underneath. Shitty joke. Oh, his tournament winning dreams. Oh, sorry. Ah, I was wondering where that comment made sense. I didn't quite find where that fit in. Okay, he discards his tournament winning yeah. But to be fair, one hand is just one hand, right? There's at least, well, usually 8 hands, maybe more, maybe fewer, in the game that are 2, right? Alright, which brings us back to the south wing, or to the south player. South player has this. We have just discarded a bamboo 9. He doesn't want the bamboo 9, so he picks the next piece from over there. He picks a white dragon. He can't do anything with that white dragon, so he throws it away. Let's go back to the north player. Sorry, to the west player. The west player has a singular white dragon. He can't call the white dragon that was discarded, so he picks a piece. Calls characters 8. That also doesn't really work with his hand, but what has happened is that the white dragon has lost even more value than it had already, so we discard the white dragon again. So Yaku is a winning condition, but Han are other points multipliers. Or what's the distinction? Correct. Now, with very few exceptions, it's basically the same. And the one exception, the biggest exception is this, the pin 3. Is the Dora, right? Keep in mind, the Dora indicator is the 2, so the pin 3 is the Dora. The Dora is a Han, but it's not a is a Han, but it's not a Yaku. It's not a winning condition, but it still multiplies your points. Also, there's several Yaku that consist of more than 1 Han, right? So Toy Toy is always 2 Han, despite it only being 1 Yaku. Right, so he's going to discard the white dragon. That means it's turn for north. Picks pin 3. Well, that kind of helps. 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. Okay, that's somewhat connected. We still have 2, 5, 8, and we have north, east. The north is out once. East is not yet out, so he'll discard it. I guess. Again, there's several reasons to do other things here. Because he might as well give up from the very start and start collecting save tiles in case someone... Because you also already saw that this player has called 2 pawns, right? So he might be preparing for playing it safe later. Which means it's time for our good friend, the East player. aka the viewer. I need to keep in mind that that the hands need to be visible. Right, North was discarded. He can't do anything with North, so he gets to pick over there on the wall. And he picks a bamboo 5. Now a bamboo 5... Right. It kind of fits into his hand. It can connect with a 3. But now we really have to make a decision if we want to go for 7 pairs or not. I'd say not, because it really limits you in the choice of what you're doing and what you're not doing. This now requires thinking. I'm out. Don't worry, it's actually not that difficult. And I'll explain why. So, a pair that is unconnected, I think get rid of the 9. Very good. Question is, why? You can also get rid of the 4, but the others I would not get rid of right now. So, this pair, if you get rid of that one, it doesn't really connect to anything, right? So those, and this is connected, so that's not really good. For those two, if you remove one of the pair ones, the other one remains connected in some way, right? Same here, with 3, 4, 4, if you remove the 4, the rest remains connected. same for here, 1135. If you remove the one, the rest remains connected, but you still need to discard another one of those. So, whereas if you were, for example, to pick another one, then this would become a triplet and this would still be connected. So I really don't want to touch this at all. Or I'd rather get rid of something here. So, let's think our way through what can happen. If we discard this 9, the only thing that will complete the sequence is an 8. If we discard, and over here we remain waiting for the 2, another 4, and a 5 for constructing things, right? So we have 8, 2, 4, 5. If we discard this 4, we're still waiting for 2 and 5, not for 4 anymore. And here we're waiting for 9 and 8. But the 9, well, it's the same logic really. We have 2 4s here, we have 2 9s here. So, ultimately, the thing is, we will need to discard again at some point. And hopefully, something will fit in, and the likelihood that something fits in over here is much higher because there's 3 candidates here in this set and only 2 candidates in this set, right? So it's much more likely that we will discard both of these than that we'll discard both of these, which is also not good, right? If we discard both of these. So because 3 and 4 are so closely connected. That is why I would go for the 9s in this place. And there's one more thing that kind of indicates that we should get rid of the 9. We have no honors, so we have no dragons and wins, and we have only 4 terminals. If we get rid of the terminals one by one, then we have no terminals and honors, which is a yaku, which is a winning condition, tanya. So we can slowly make our way towards that, at least with the option of doing that. Exactly. That's what I meant with waiting on both the 2 and the 5. You can get 2, 3, 4 and 3, 4, 5. If you hold the 9, you have a better chance of contacting the emergency service. Wonderful. Alright, so that's settled then, we'll throw the 9. Okay. We move on to our soft player, who has 1, 2, 2, 7, 9, and 4 and 5. He can't call this 9 because it doesn't complete a set for him, so he gets to pick the wall. He picks a pin 1. Now 1 and 4 are 3 apart, which means they're not connected, not connectable, and is absolute garbage. I immediately discard it. Let's take a look at our West player. Now the West player has 2, 3 here in pin, which means with this discard from the left of the pin 1, he could complete a sequence 1, 2, 3. Right? That is possible. However, that would open his hand. And there's still plenty of 1s and 4s out there that he can build into this 2, 3 sequence, so that he really has no reason to open his hand. Also, he doesn't have a winning condition. He has a pair of green dragons, but no guarantee that it will actually become a triplet of green dragons. So we will not, in this case, call the 1, 2, 3, and instead pick from the wall. Pick the bamboo 8. Well, that connects a little better to the 6 up here. And in fact, everything else is connected. Yeah, okay. So this 8 doesn't connect with the 5, and this 3 doesn't connect with the 6. But everything else has a partner. So we have to figure out whether to discard an 8 or the 3. Let me think about also, maybe we can rotate this a little so I am on screen when I discard. But does your hand have a limit? Oh, what do you mean by opening hand? Right. So, let's compare this player, the way you see it, and let's see. The thing is, we are opening them up to be able to clearly see what's happening, but actually, these hands would still look like this. A hand is closed if it looks like this. Right? 13 tiles, no magic, everything's fine. He just picks somewhere and discards somewhere. Whereas this guy really only has 7 pieces left here, because he opened his hand by calling. Right? So whenever you call, you like open the tiles that are connected to the call, you take the piece and you put it to the side. So that's called opening your hand. The problem with opening your hand is that there are several winning conditions which require a closed hand. Thankfully, a triplet of dragons or a triplet of winds, if appropriate, do not require a closed hand. So he had an easy choice of opening the hand fairly soon, in fact at the very beginning of the game, and then moving on with an open hand. Whereas this player still does not have an obvious winning condition. So he should not open his hand with a discard. Right. Also, that locks you out of the no terminals and no honors win condition, right? Depending on the rule set. Now this is the part where something I've mentioned earlier, there is no one Mahjong rule set. There is in fact several. And there are so many that there's a nice big table of rule sets on Oyamaneko's list. We can take a look at that briefly, but it really depends on the rule set that you're playing with. So usually the very first 2 things you have to agree when you're playing with someone you usually don't play with are whether or not you're playing Atazuke or Sakizuke, which I will go into after this hand, and whether Kui-tan is allowed or not. Kui-tan means open Tanyao. Kui is to eat or to consume, in this case to open your hand, and Tan is short for Tanyao, the hand with no terminals in hand. I believe those are the Ari-Ari and the Nashi-Nashi rules. Ari is to have, Nashi is nothing, so to not have. So Ari-Ari means you play with those 2 rules, Nashi-Nashi is you don't play with those 2 rules. And that Ari is the same Ari from Igi-Ari from Objection from Phoenix Wright. Alright. Right. Now, which brings us back to the problem of what to discard. And there is books written about what to discard. There's literally what would you discard books. And I used to have one, and I don't find it anymore, so I have to ask who I lent it. And I really want to get back into that book and work my way through it, because there were so many fascinating concepts in there about what to discard in what situation. Because it literally depends on everything. It can depend on the round at the seat wind, it can depend on your score, it can depend on the difference between your score and someone else, it can depend on the discards that have been made, it can depend on whether people are in reach or not. There's so many things to consider when discarding. And that's because that's really, other than calling, the only decision that you're ever making is what you're discarding, right? So you gotta put all the effort that you can into that decision. Complex decision trees. This is an RPG. It can depend on the weather in Karsi. I don't know what Karsi is, but sure, if you like. It depends on the mood of the other players. And if the weather is bad, maybe he's in a bad mood. Right? You can go into deep psychology with this game, and the anime Akagi goes like really Carlisle goes really deep into the psychology, and even like the noises that people make when they call their tiles and put them to the side, that can be an indicator of what your hand has. It's mad shit. All right. Now, let's go back to this decision. 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, 8. Now this is a long shot, but hang on, let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the only open pieces right now are the honors, right? And technically the discards and the Dora. Those are the pieces that are open and visible by everyone. Now, remember way back 2 days ago when I talked about a Yaku called Sanshoko that we never got into, which is the same color 3 times. No, the same thing in 3 colors. There we go. So, if we imagine for a moment that this thing becomes 6, 7, 8, and this becomes 6, 7, 8, then this 8 could also become 6, 7, 8. So we have a potential of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 required pieces for the same sequence in 3 colors. Whereas if we go the other way, if we take 3, 4, 5, we really only have this 3 and this 3 here. So that is why I would discard 3 for the potential of going for this 3 colors. Can't see the whole table and my short-term memory is bad. Right, so South has those 2 triplets. The discards look like this, which is 9 and 9. West for white 1, north and white, and west and north. Right, so that would be my legitimization of this discard. Right? We very often have to just keep all of the hands that are possible in mind, even if we are really far away from them, right? Just like we made this decision here with the 1s and the 9s, based on the fact that we might discard all the 1s and the 9s then, right? And just like here, we might end up getting 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, even though we're only 2/3 of the way there. Alright, we see a discarded bamboo 3 for our friend in the north, who becomes more and more angry as people from the north are. Let's take a look. Let's take a sip of coffee. Now the bamboo 3, much like everything else in his life, doesn't fit into his hand, so he gets to pick from the wall. It's a bamboo 2. Oh man, he has the best luck. Alright, so he still needs to have keep everything flexible. The Northern Water Tribe were really angry. Is that a reference to Avatar? I don't know. Water Tribe. No, I don't know. So the only thing that doesn't fit in his hand is the East. He tried collecting the East. Oh, nice. I got a reference to something I don't. So he will discard these. I'll just leave these open, so I don't have to do that every time. Alright, here we see the East has been discarded. Not really helpful. Alright. So we pick from the wall. Anger management issues. They didn't reveal well with the last ever. Nice. A 6. Look, this player is much more lucky than the other one. Okay, so now what we could say is, okay, we obviously have 5 and 6, so we don't need the 3 anymore. But the 3 can still connect to the 2 1s. Whereas we might still go down the path of discarding the 9. So that's the easiest way to choose. What? Why does that not work? Excuse me? Is that not available for everyone? Should be. Someone sent me a reminder later to unlock that for him. Alright, we'll send the next character 9 on its merry way. Do we pick it? Alright. Back to our friend the soft player. He also does not need this character 9. Well, at least he can't call it, so he gets to pick from the wall. And it's another white dragon. We've already discarded one, so this is something that will happen very often, called Tsumogiri. Tsumo is picking, Kiru is to cut, so Tsumogiri is picking and immediately discarding the same tile. Oh, we both really. Alright, this player, West player, obviously can't do anything with the white dragon, so he picks a 4. 2, 3, 4. Interesting. That really fixes this one. We have something here, and we have this rest. Now, we don't have another pair. There are 2 options. I see 2 options. One is this 8, which we didn't need last time, and the other one, the other one is the pin 9. If we want, we can go one more time trying to collect tiles for 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 by discarding this 9 now. Or we could try to remain flexible in the pin area and discard this 8. Because we're really only missing the 1 and the 5 from a full sequence of 1 to 9. Now, since we're only missing 2 pieces from the sequence of 1 to 9, and we're missing 3 pieces from the 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, we're going to discard the 8. And then if the next player also discards the same tile, you say snap. There can be mild chuckles when everyone discards the same tile. Also, if everyone discards the same wind at the beginning of the game, depending on your rule set, the game is being redealt and reshuffled. Alright. Character 8 is one of those beautiful tiles that that really brightens the North player's day. The North player picks, and it's another North wind, Tsumugi. Be gone. Time for our friend in the East again. He picks. This is sometimes a way of picking the tile. That kind of means it doesn't mean anything. It was kind of invented for the cameras, so the player can think what he's doing and eventually discard, but it's also easily presented on camera which was the tile that he just picked. And usually you pick, you discard, and then you build put the tile back in. Now, let's take a look at what happened. We got another pair. Easier to see, yes, but it serves no real purpose, and also it can often happen that you put it there and then it falls off. So you gotta be careful. It doesn't have a manner or playing purpose. It is a purpose. It was done for the purpose of recording things for television. All right. Okay, I know what I would do. Suggestions. We have 1, 1, 3, 5, 6, 3, 3, 4, 4, 7. And we have discarded 9, 9, 9. No one is now contemplating what they want for dinner. They might want to go for chicken skewers, because if you play an entire round, so an entire match of East and South round, and not win a single hand, then you are a chicken skewer. You're a yakitori. And sometimes there is a rule that when you are Yakitori, then you lose additional points at the end. Sucks. So, sack the 8th pin. The problem with sacking the 8th pin is that the 6th pin is then unconnected to anything. I see the point of then trying to get rid of that entire that entire thing, but it also doesn't help anywhere else. It doesn't create anything for us. It just creates, well, what it does create is another liability. Remove both 2s. Note can come from the... for the same reason, that just creates another liability. What about the character 7? Correct? Character 7 is one of the 2... hence the kappa shocks. Right. Sorry, I didn't see the kappa. What is one of the 2 possible... Well, no, they're all possible choices, right? And you wouldn't believe it, it really even matters whether you discard this one or this one. Same for this one or this one. Let me just explain that right away, because that will confuse the shit out of people if I don't explain that right away. Right? Why on earth would it... Yes, exactly. Very good, Beluna. Because other players can... If you're playing sorted, other players can see where you pick and discard your tiles from. Right? So it makes a difference whether they see that there is now 6 tiles remaining on the left or 5 tiles remaining. Right? But if you're playing sorted anyway, that means that you're really not giving a shit about that anyway, right? So if you have an unsorted hand, then of course different. Well, I mean, you could kind of, if you wanted to, actually, if you wanted to, you could try to throw people off, or like pretend that you're playing sorted. I don't know. That goes like deep into psychology and not actual modern theory. Alright, so the 2 options that I would present to you would be this 7 and this 1. Read comment. 3 bamboo 2. 3 bamboo. Interesting. I see. Okay, so let's discuss all 3 of them. It's a valid choice. I would advise against it, but I do see your point. So keep in mind we have 4 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now those 2 pairs can become something else, right? If we pick a 2 and a 5, then these become 2 sequences. Or if we pick a 2 and a 2 and a 5 and a 5, it's not only a sequence, but it's a double sequence, which is a yaku. Your brain isn't used to this being a bamboo yet. It is a valid choice. Don't get me wrong, right? It is a valid choice. It doesn't connect directly to the ones, and these 2 are also pretty fixed, right? You can't connect the 3 with the 5 and the 6. Only with the 5, and then you'd have to discard the 6, so you'd rather discard the 3. Perfectly valid argument. Right, keep in mind this is the bamboo one. But if you discard the bamboo one, no, let's compare it to the 7 first, right? While the 3 is still somewhat connected to the other pieces, the 7 is not. And therefore, it makes a bit more sense. There's a bit better argument for the 7 than for the 3. Now, if you compare the 1 and the 7, the 1 will first of all get rid of one of the pairs without losing connection to another sequence. And additionally, it gets us one step closer to the hand with only simples, right? So the hand consisting of only 2 to 8, Tanya. No terminals in it. So the 3 kind of cuts off this connection between this cluster of bamboo tiles Whereas the 1 keeps this connection. Now we will have to discard the 7 probably at some point, but you might get a 6. If we get a 6, then this is pretty nice. If we get an 8, it's super dangerous, and we fucked up. But for now, we can discard the 1. So I would vote for it. But both the 3 and the bamboo 1 are perfectly valid options. The 8 is a bit risky. Like if you have like a deep plan in the back of your head, then you can of course go for the 8. I see no simple justification for the 8. So let's cut the 1. I was thinking 3 bamboo, yes. I can give my logic and you can tell me why I'm wrong. Oh, and your logic didn't take into account that this was the bamboo 1 answer. So don't worry about that. We'll get we'll get used to that. All right. Further questions? Yeah, the airspeed and velocity of laden swallow, an African or a European swallow? On the Yaku win conditions, yes. We'll go through the entire list of winning conditions after this hand. And then we'll move on. Yeah, we won't be able to do the client thing today. We'll do that tomorrow. Ah! Yeah, I saw the 4 would be needed to complete 3, 4, 5, but it's already completed by the 5 and 6. Exactly. So, just on its own, 1 missing, and then another 2 ones in sequence usually mean that this is absolutely worthless. Because the 4, which would connect 3, 4, 5, also connects the 4, 5, 6. You are absolutely right. Alright. We move on to our self frame. So, right, about the winning conditions, the Yakus, there's a long list of Yakus, and you need to have one in order to win the game, right? You can't just have your 4 melds of 3 and a pair, you also need a winning condition. So a nice pattern in your hand to be eligible to win. Alright. The South player sees the bamboo 1, doesn't really care about it, and picks a tile from the wall. White Dragon again. Unlucky. Sumogin. West player sees the White Dragon, doesn't care, picks a Man Reed. Right. So now consider for a moment that we still have the potential of... Oh, the plot thickens, indeed. And once the pot is big, Tanyao is the only thing that matters, indeed. Here's a problem that this hand had earlier that it now doesn't have anymore. Right? We have 3, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 8, green dragon, green dragon. If at some point we decide to call the green dragon because it gets discarded, then this hand doesn't have another pair. It does have a pair wait, right? This is waiting for 6 and 9 as a pair, but it doesn't have a pair on its own. Now it does. So if now at some point we decide to discard the 5, we have a pair, even if we pick this triplet. So now we are on the safe side if a green dragon gets discarded and we get to pick it. It also means that we can get rid of, or that we're not too sad that our potential pair weight of 4 connected pieces is gone. So we discard the 9. Now we have this pretty fixed, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. 3, 3 will probably be a pair, and the moment we discard the 5 and get the 7 and or the green dragon, we're done. So we are 1 away from Tenpai, which is E Shanten, which is 2 away from a finished hand. Let's discard the 9 and move on to the player who doesn't have a great game, which is the North player. The North player sees the 9 and says, yeah, whatever. And picks up the tile from the wall. It's a 6. Okay. Alright. That's something, I guess. Let's get a quick overview of how that could. Now, it is a bit later in the game for this player, but he also sees that he only has 3 terminals left and no honors. So he could go, alright, let's discard the honors, the terminals. Terminals are 1 and 9, sorry, I didn't mention it, because they terminate the borders of the full sequence. So he could start thinking, alright, do I want to discard these terminals? And maybe go for Tanyao, and then maybe call it together. And I think that is the best choice he can make at this point. But really, he's probably not going to win this one. Now, let's look. Alright. Okay. I think I could force myself to find out a reason why one of these is better than the other. You can start with the pin 9. Before I go into details, pin 9 is definitely one of the 2 best options in this case. Out of the 3 options, you really want to avoid discarding the 9, because the 9 is connected to the 7, which isn't connected to anything below it. Whereas this 9 is connected to the 7, which is connected to the 6. And then we again have our sequence of 4 with 1 in the middle missing, meaning this one is useless. But the problem is, we have the very same thing down here with 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the one, with this one missing. So, 1 and 9, pin 1 and pin 9 are the 2 obvious choices. So, let's take a look at the context of the game. What else do we have? What has been discarded? If we look at the discards, we see 1 pin 1 here and 1 pin 9 here. So, yeah. I'm going through that. So again, from the discards alone, there is no real justification for cutting the 1 or the 9 first. So from the discards alone and everything we've seen so far, there is really not much more that we can deduce. You can get into weird Uradora arguments, which I don't want to get into, but I have looked it up. Maybe there is one more thing. Yes, there is one more thing, and that is, let's assume, for a moment, what about 2? Ah, right, so we can discard this character 2, or this character 8. No, actually not this character 8. We can discard this character 2. Well, actually, we can also discard it. However, this doesn't get us closer to Tanyao, whereas the 1 and the 9 get us closer to Tanyao. And the 2 is more central, even if it's just a tiny bit more central. Therefore, we'd rather discard the 1 and the 9. How so? How so about the... could you include more details in the question so I can keep track what the... Oh, sorry. Tanyao is simples only. No terminals and honors. Only 2 to 8. So no 1s, no 9s, no dragons, no wins. Yes. Exactly. I will use both the Japanese and the English terms. Because later on we will also use both of these terms. And mostly only the Japanese ones. So, I'm sorry. But the reason why you could also think about discarding the 8 is because once again we have this sequence of 4 with the middle one missing, right? So then the 7 doesn't play. You do not have to apologize. Please keep asking. Right, now let's imagine what would be the best case that could happen if we discard the 1 and keep the 9. What could happen is that we get an 8 and then another 7, and then so we have 7, 8, 9, and then 6, 7, and then you can have 5, 6, 7 or 6, 7, 8. That's pretty neat, that's 2 sequences. But that's all. However, if we discard the 9 and have the same thing symmetrically happen on this side, that would mean picking another 2 and another 3. And let's discover Mahjong together. Exactly. And that has an advantage. And that advantage is right here. That's the Dora indicator, which is a 2. So in this case, another 3 here would help more than another 7 here, because it would double the value of the hand. On the other hand, here now we have to talk about that, like what makes it better for us and what is safe. On the other hand, another Dora in our hand, if we cannot use it, we have to discard it. And we don't want to discard a Dora when it's end game. We're still in the beginning of the game. So we also want to be able to keep that Dora and to do something with it. So for that reason, with a teeny tiny percentage, you can argue that it makes more sense to discard the 9. But that is super niche. And it's probably not gonna happen. But it's also probably not gonna happen. We could have said earlier, it's not gonna happen that he goes for Tanyao and doesn't have terminals and honors. And look, we're only one away from no terminals and honors. We also said that it's not gonna happen that he gets the sequences 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. And in this case, it really didn't happen because he discarded the 8. But it might happen, right? So let's take that tiny edge. The Dora indicator is 2-pin, and therefore the Dora is 3-pin. Right? This indicates the Dora, so that there are 4 Dora in the game. So 3-pin is the Dora, and getting another 3 would give us another Dora, whereas getting another 7 would just give us another time. So that is my motivation for cutting out this 9 here. You can make so much science out of this, but in the very beginning, you can. Yes. If that's the only thing that wraps up, right? If this is a 9, then the Dora becomes the 1, and the winds become east, south, west, north, east, and the dragons are alphabetically green, red, white, green. Right. So he discarded the 9 after heavy debating with what to do with his absolute garbage crappy hand, how to get something out of it. And hey, actually his hand is starting to take... No, actually. It looks less shitty than at the beginning, but it's still not a really good hand. Alright. East's turn again. Why am I not listening to music? It's much nicer when I have the music. Alright. Now. Right. It's East's turn. He does not want this pin 9, so he picks up a piece, and it's a west wind. So Sumagiri, he immediately discards it. South player. Picks up 6. Perfect. Then he can shuffle out this 9, right? He now has this problem of 4 in a sequence with 1 in the middle missing, so he can discard the 1 on the edge. Which has the advantage, earlier he was really only waiting for the 8, and now he's waiting for the 8 and the 5. Discarding the 9. Now these are 6 discards, so now we start a new row here. Yeah, it's still shit. He's thinking this would have been an this would have been an acceptable opening hand. It's time to reconnect with his ex. I love how you give this character more and more lore. Alright. This player does not want this 9 that has been discarded, so he moves on and picks a piece. Picks a tile. A red dragon. He doesn't need it, and no one needs it because it's already triply gone in that corner over there, so he discards it. It's humiliating. And look, it's North's turn again. Maybe he can actually do something with this. Alright, let's pick a piece for North. And oh, the 8 has come! Now! The problem with that is that locks in this 7, 8, 9, kind of. That means his dreams of going Tanyao, or going for all simples, is pretty much gone. But that doesn't necessarily prevent him from discarding the 1 pin. Because that still doesn't fit into his hand. The same way this 2 and this 8 doesn't fit into his hand. Because it's still a shitty hand. But let's imagine for a moment a world. There's exactly 4 of each tile. Correct. And keep in mind, 14 of them are in this dead wall. So 14 of them will never come into play. Imagine that the tables turn and he actually gets lucky, right? And picks a bamboo 6. Then he can shuffle the bamboo 9 out, right? Let's pretend he picks a bamboo 6. Then he has 6, 7, 8. And then he can get rid of this turn. That would be cool. It might happen. So let's follow this path of going for all simples and discard the 1 pin. Also note that that is the first actual meld that this guy has in his hand. Ah, it's beautiful. Alright.